Good afternoon, Madam Premier, Mr. Deputy, my colleagues, members of the press. The long-term stability and prosperity of our community is dependent on our collective ability to motivate citizens of all ages to do better and to do more to achieve this common purpose. The Ministry of Justice mandate requires us to appropriately balance the fair and proper administration of justice, the rehabilitation of offenders, and the delivery of prevention and treatment programs. The successful discharge of this mandate is essential to the maintenance of law and order and consequently to the stability of our community. The new integrated approach that characterizes this administration is reflected in the reconfiguration of the Ministry of Justice to include the Department of Corrections, Court Services, National Drug Control. This reconfiguration, coupled with the review of expenditure, has highlighted the importance of developing a practical, realistic approach to the delivery of services and programs. The ministry budget for fiscal 2011-2012 of $54,201,000 for current account expenditure and $2,188,000 for capital account expenditure demonstrates the prudent reductions that support the assessment and realignment of projects and programs and the retention of human capital necessary for their implementation. During the upcoming fiscal year, management accountability within my ministry will be a key component of our business model as we embark upon the process of reshaping our mission to reflect the needs of a modern society faced with the challenges that require bold, proactive measures and leadership. Now, whilst funding has been allocated to support rehabilitation and treatment programs and to enhance community awareness, to adopt the words of the Honourable Premier, it will not be business as usual. Success will be redefined to shift the focus from the amount of funding and the number of programs and will be measured by self-determination of individuals who enter the justice system to do better and to do more to become productive, law-abiding members of our community. This self-determination, coupled with transformational programs aimed at facilitating the successful reintegration of offenders into our society, will have the greatest impact on reducing the rates of recidivism. A considered, phased approach will characterize the introduction of new initiatives as we look to the future and modernize our operations ministry-wide. In particular, with regard to the Department of Corrections, security has been targeted for review with the aim of introducing stricter measures to prevent illegal drugs from being brought into our corrections facilities. A comprehensive review of more efficient energy models for corrections facilities will be undertaken during this fiscal period to achieve full and future. Programs and grants has been reduced and selected programs discontinued as we continue to identify the best and most cost-effective options for delivery of treatment and rehabilitation services. This will be accomplished through the assessment and realignment of existing programs and funding in the Department of Corrections, Court Services, and the National Drug Control, as their respective heads collaborate, network, and strategize to employ best practices. As a complement to this collaborative effort, funding has been allocated for psychologists who will evaluate the delivery of existing programs in our corrections facilities and identify alternative models where necessary. Entrepreneurial programs will be increased so that inmates will be able to build the financial foundation required for independent living upon their release and reintegration into our society. Access to justice for all citizens will be maintained within the proposed new framework for the grant of legal aid, which will be funded with reduced budget allocation. This allocation will be supported by the legislative operational reforms necessary to ensure the financial stability of the Legal Aid Fund program during the upcoming fiscal year and throughout the future. Modernization of the judicial infrastructure will continue with the allocation of funding for the judiciary to provide the services and support the necessary necessary to carry out its adjudication of charges of criminal conduct and the resolution of disputes fairly, justly, and expeditiously. Thus, resources will be applied to complete the installation of the judicial enforcement management system and to reduce the backlog of family matters in the magistrates' court. Funding will also enable staff to receive training to deliver better customer service and manage conflict with respect to financial transactions. Notwithstanding the allocation of funding for rehabilitation and treatment of offenders, the scales of justice are balanced and our criminal justice system remains strong in the war against crime. Consequently, funding has been allocated to allow the further development of the witness care unit to provide an improved and more comprehensive standard of care in Supreme Court and Magistrates' Court cases. In addition, the successful prosecution of criminal offenses will be further enhanced by the commencement of the Witness Protection Program, particularly with respect to gang-related and firearms offenses. As we prepare ourselves to do better and more with less, we do so with an optimism characterized not only by hope, but conviction that we will collectively achieve our common purposes of stability and prosperity in our community. Thank you.